I'm betting as soon as you saw the thumbnail for this story, you rolled your eyeballs and sighed, oh, not another stupid cultural appropriation story. Hey folks, I feel your pain. Over the years, we've seen it all. You can't teach yoga if you're not South Asian. You can't wear hoop earrings if you're not a Latina. You can't toss a boomerang if you're not an Indigenous Australian. You can't use a cell phone, drive a car, fly in a plane if you're not Caucasian. Oops, strike that last example and kindly forgive that shocking display of white privilege. Anyway, all of these cultural appropriation movements tend to get created on campus by social justice warriors, probably taking gender studies or something. They are bored out of their minds, so they want to invent causes that they can get behind. But this is a cultural appropriation story that's completely different, for it's about a think tank calling on tougher laws to police cultural appropriation in the fashion business. Yes, apparently these guys want laws, and they want these laws strictly enforced. Just check out this CTV news item. Quote, a new report from the Center for International Governance Innovation says traditional cultural expressions are undeniably forms of intellectual property, but are largely excluded from existing protections offered by the World Intellectual Property Organization. The study's Canadian author, Bridget Vesna, says there is a gray zone between harmful misuse and permissible inspiration, making it very difficult to assess when something has crossed the line. It is urgent. We don't see any other way to put an end to cultural appropriation, says the Montreal-born Vesna, an international law consultant in The Hague and previously a legal officer at the WIPO. Copying in traditional design motifs without consent can erode a community's identity and cause profound harm, end quote. Is anyone buying this? This whole idea that entire communities are being profoundly harmed due to, a print on a dress that might resemble something from Aboriginal art? I mean, really? You know, the funny thing is, in her report called Curbing Cultural Appropriation in the Fashion Industry, Vesna seems to make the case that the free market is already working just fine when it comes to the scourge of cultural appropriation. For example, she points to Nike workout leggings for women back in 2013 that featured a traditional tattoo for Samoan men. Vesna noted a public outcry erupted, meaning a few members of Generation Snowflake began whining online. The end result was that Nike decided to pull the leggings from sale and apologize, noting that no offense had been intended. Now, Nike could have just as easily have ignored the so-called outcry, but the company likely decided the aggro wasn't worth it, so it stopped manufacturing those leggings altogether, no doubt making these things instant collector's items in the process. And by the way, has anyone bothered to ask natives the world over if they want a cultural appropriation police force to clamp down on such affronts? And by natives, I mean the common folk down on the res, not some six-figure activist mouthpiece. Indeed, I point to that fascinating 2016 poll conducted by the Washington Post that revealed that more than 90% of natives surveyed did not find the Washington Redskins nickname and logo offensive. Gee, I bet the Post hated publishing those poll results. But isn't the Washington Redskins supposed to be ground zero in terms of offensive cultural appropriation? Meanwhile, for what it's worth, check out the roster of so-called experts at the Waterloo, Ontario-based Centre for International Governance Innovation. Wow, that crew is about as diverse as the audience at a Garth Brooks concert. And maybe that's what's really driving this harebrained idea of cultural appropriation policing. It's not about doing what's needed for Indigenous people the world over, but rather it's just another opportunity for white liberals to virtue signal yet again. For the Rebel.Media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, you may have heard the Rebel has a new app. Please download that app and take the Rebel with you wherever you go.